Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Healthy Hawks podcast. In this podcast, we just have conversations about health. My name is Jonathan, and I'm the president of the club, along with.
Another president here and Noah Sudman.
And I'm Ryan, a member of the club.
Yeah. All right. Noah, go
All
ahead.
right, you want me to start it off?
Yeah, let's hear what you got planned.
All right, let's do it. So I'm just gonna go right here and share my screen. Do you guys see this PowerPoint?
Yeah, make it full screen, my friend.
That's what I'm doing.
Awesome.
All right, so I made this little presentation for all of you to enjoy. So it's called How to Deal with Stress During Exams. It's targeted towards students. So first, we have to look at the fundamentals of where stress comes from. So for us students, it can be a multitude of things. But for me personally, and from what I've experienced from others, I think that it comes down to these three main points. So first we have work and school, finding the balance of like how much work you put in to how much you get out, kind of like a return on investment. Then you have relationship difficulties. This can be anything from your roommates to your girlfriend or boyfriend or your family. And lastly, it's just about always being busy. There's always something that you need to do that you don't feel like you can relax.
Take a breath, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So, how do we deal with this? Well, when it comes to actually studying for exams, the first thing I would suggest is to take regular breaks and schedule in fun things to look forward to during the day. So, if you have a midterm coming up tomorrow, maybe study for an hour, 2 hours, whatever you think works for you, but make sure you include breaks at least up to 20 minutes because you can't be studying all day. It's ineffective and inefficient. Secondly, to make things fun, kind of plan things around that. So, you can watch a movie with your friends, you guys can have a little dinner night, or you can play some video games. And lastly, it's important to spend time away from the books, just kind of like how I was saying, you don't always, when you're studying, you don't always need to be at your desk, kind of reading a textbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I can add something, for me, something that helps me out is, when you're studying and you kind of like, you don't feel in the mood anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just read too much, you don't feel like writing
Yeah,
anymore.
you lost it a little bit.
You don't push through it. You just take a break. If you push through it, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. You won't be able to sustain the long period of study that you need. Like, let's be realistic. Sometimes you have to study all day during finals. You have to really devote your time to it. But if you just push through that like uneasiness, it's not going to help you out. Maybe you can do that for 1-2 days, but think of it, a week, a month, it's going to get to you.
You need to find that balance.
I agree.
Ryan, you got anything to add on that?
I would just say, yeah, like you really want to avoid burnout and pace yourself because burnout is very easy to achieve, I would say. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So secondly, a big thing for us that we stress in Healthy Hawks is to be to be active. And that includes exercising or going outdoors. So my tip kind of for you guys is that when the weather is nice, you got to take advantage of it. You got to go outside and enjoy it. As students, especially times like now where everything is online, we're kind of stuck in our residence or in our buildings or wherever it may be. We're stuck in one place. So it's important to kind of go outside, and it can be anything from going on a walk, a run, going to the gym, going to the pool, or even as simple as just going to get a coffee. Kind of getting that fresh air revamps yourself in a sense. And yeah,
if I
that's
can add something,
sure.
something I like to do when I'm studying is just open my window and just get some fresh air in my room. That just really helps. And like your air at home, it can just be stagnant and like nasty sometimes. But when you get that fresh, cold, brisk air, it feels nice.
It does. I can't argue with that. And exercise is kind of known to boost your mood. It can help you make you more productive while studying. I personally find this to be the most accurate statement, just because when I do a workout, whether it be going to the gym or going for a swim, I find that I always study more efficiently after that. If I kind of sit and be lazy at home and then decide to study, it's hard to get into that kind of into that zone, I guess I would say. And lastly, don't always listen to others. So when you're studying, don't it's important not to compare yourself to anyone else. You kind of understand what you're capable of. So, maybe you have that one friend that gets 100 on every exam and he makes you feel bad when you don't get 100. It's important that you know your own standards and how to achieve those standards through taking action. So improve yourself, maybe see that as a goal that you want to achieve, but ultimately it's what you do by yourself, kind of that mindset of changing, setting goals, and obtaining those goals. And lastly, if you're down on yourself, it's also important that you don't want to rub off on people the wrong way. It doesn't come off well if you're stressed. It can only make others more stressed. So that's something else to take in mind.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like a karma theory, you know? You
Mm-hmm.
put out good vibes, you get good vibes.
But that's my presentation on exam stress, and I hope you guys enjoyed that one.
All right, I guess I have to take the lead now. So
Sir.
let me just share my screen. Give me a second. So we can see my screen, correct?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to be talking about physical and emotional health's intimate relationship. And we know this for many things. It's very simple, but the thing is, we're not really aware of it, and it just happens in the background sometimes. All right, so I guess for me, I kind of think of it as a feedback loop. You put in a more physical activity, you're going to get a little more emotional health. And then your emotional health feeds into your physical activity because if you're feeling good, you'll perform better in the gym. You'll swim the faster lap. You'll just walk a little more upright. So it's they're hand in hand, and you can't look at anyone in isolation without thinking of the impacts on the other one. So let's talk about some examples of being physically healthy. First thing is nutrition. Very simple advice that is true in all situations. A diet that tells you eat this way is usually wrong. And the best scientifically sound advice is eat widely. So eat as many foods as possible. Don't just eat your toast with some cottage cheese or like some avocado. Try to incorporate something else, an egg or something else. Don't just eat carbs and dairy, and don't binge on any single food. If you're eating a bag of chips, take the chips out of the bag so you don't just eat and then you think you're done once you get to the bottom of the bag. You're eating, it's like a dark hole.
Mm-hmm.
And then
You don't know
avoid
where you're
energy.
going.
Yeah, exactly. Take it on your plate. You have your own portion, and then once you're done the portion, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
And then avoid energy dense food. What's an energy dense food? Oreos, McDonald's, Popeyes. You eat a little bit, but it has like 300 calories. That's always bad news for you.
The
Always.
thing is, I would say that's unrealistic. You can't expect people to never eat those
Exactly.
kinds of foods.
Exactly. That's why I said avoid, don't,
Mhm.
don't, I said avoid, don't, never intake.
Yeah,
So
be
you can
conscious
have,
of it. Yeah.
yeah, be conscious of it and use it as a treat, not as like a once every other day kind of thing. And then we know that carbohydrates that are complex and high in soluble fibers are good for your heart. And this is very well established in science, in nutritional science. And examples of these foods are fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, and legumes, something we all know are good for us. So, secondly, an example of being physically healthy, according to the Canadian Society on Exercise Physiology, you should average about 150 minutes, moderate to vigorous intensity of aerobic exercise in a week. So that means in a week, have 150 minutes. At least 10 minutes has to be dedicated. It doesn't mean 5 minutes counts as an exercise. Those 5 minutes weren't long enough to really push your body and get an actual physical activity effect. And they have some tips. So join a weekday community walking or running group. Not really suitable for now, but I guess go for a brisk walk after dinner. Take a dance class. You have those Zoom classes. Bike, walk to work every day or walk for fun. Rake the lawn, shovel the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Do charity. Go on a run. It's fun. And favorite sports, something that is fun to do is always good.
Yeah, and also I just like to add that 10 minutes, when people say that they're physically active, kind of the motive behind that is that for people that don't want to do it, it's that it seems like it's too challenging. But when I see 10 minutes, I see something that is easily achievable, right? So if you break it up into not something that you see over time, but kind of short goals that you can achieve, I think that's very beneficial for everyone.
150 minutes is 2.5 hours. Some people say they don't have time to exercise, but I think everybody can find 2.5 hours in their week
Mm-hmm.
to dedicate towards exercise. So now let's look on how the physical activity you participate in impacts your emotions. So according to Health BC, it decreases your anger, anxiety, confusion, depression, headache, stress, and tension. And I guess I don't know why, who knows, but it helps, right? So these are good things that you want to avoid in your life that just make life difficult, more difficult than it already is. The increases are you're more confident, you're stable, you're dependent on people are dependent on you. You have good memory, you have a good mood, good stuff you want in your life, stuff that makes your life fun, more enjoyable, and increases your satisfaction overall. So the real question is, why don't people exercise? So I read this Harvard publication. They said is because you have to make the active choice to exercise. With nutrition, you might choose the healthier food, but you have to eat at the end of the day. In our lives, the way we live, you have to go out of your way to exercise. So that's a big barrier for a lot of people. So they outlined some ways that are like very simple, like strategies to incorporate physical activity into your life. Park at the end of the parking lot. Uh, Walk and talk, increasing your the amount of air you're breathing in and out. Walk tall, you know, just read these. I can whoever's interested, they can message our social media, and I'll send you all my sources. And I guess a story time is for me. I've always been a physically active person. You know, I played hockey my whole life. I like played volleyball in high school. I liked running. I liked doing all this. I was always playing outside in the summer. But the thing is, I was never really happy all the time. So this goes to say your physical activity doesn't mean you'll be happier, less anxiety, all of this stuff. It means you have to not only do the physical activity, you have to do other coping strategies and stuff that will improve your emotional health. And I guess Ryan is the expert on this, and he will take over now.
Thank you. You have a good point there. There's a lot of factors to contribute to emotional health. So we have to make sure we take care of more than just one factor, such as physical health. So I think I'm going to start off by talking a bit about how social factors kind of affect our emotional well-being. So obviously we have relationships as a major part of our life, and relationships contribute largely to our emotional well-being. And when I'm referring to relationships, that can be with friends, family, a partner, co-workers, any type of relationship. And because they're such large contributors to our emotional well-being, it would make sense that we'd want to maintain healthy relationships. Um, so a big tip for maintaining relationships for me is to take a moment every now and then to analyze your relationships and ask yourself if you are sharing values with this person, if you're set on the same goals, if it's a healthy relationship. Because if it's not a healthy relationship, we might have things like resentment and anger starting to accumulate. Um, and actually, I think I'd like to go over a metaphor from Jordan Peterson
Let's
about
hear it.
it's about a dragon. So I don't think it's his metaphor. It comes
Is
from
this
some,
from the 12 books of life?
yeah,
Or
12.
12 rules of life? Yeah.
Yeah, and so basically the metaphor, I'll kind of do it a bit quickly, but the boy one day, he's a little boy in his home, and he finds a dragon in his bedroom. It's pretty small, the size of a cat, and the little boy goes to his parents and tries to tell them, hey, there is a dragon here. We need to do something about this. But the parents are kind of in denial about it. They're in denial that there is a problem going on in the house, perhaps in their relationships between each other. So the parents ignore the problems and pretend they're not there. And over time, the dragon eats the little boy's food, and the dragon, which is the problem, grows and grows and grows until eventually it's so big it's pretty much tearing apart the house. At which point, the parents are finally forced to acknowledge the problem. But unfortunately for the parents, the house is already destroyed. So the takeaway from that is to always be honest and address your concerns in relationships. And being honest doesn't mean rude. You definitely want to be mature, and the idea is progress and improvement. But when we don't be honest and we just pretend things are okay and kind of push them away, oftentimes resentment will build up, and then we'll eventually get to a point where we have an outburst, and that's not very beneficial for relationships.
I think that's cool, because you know, you and your friend, you have the same intentions. You both want to be happy. Both want the best for each other. So it's better to communicate in the first place,
Hmm.
win-win versus like a lose-win. Somebody's gonna like win one way or the other when the dragon's too big.
Right.
Also,
Absolutely.
there's like how would you identify a problem? Because when the dragon was a little tiny cat, or it's the size of a cat, how do you know that in the future it would cause all these problems?
I would say if you notice like a behavior or something that someone says that you don't enjoy and it makes you feel a negative way, I think, maybe letting something slide once is okay because people aren't perfect and things happen. But perhaps when you start to notice patterns, maybe that's when a pattern of things that are kind of disadvantaging you, that might be the time to identify those problems and have conversations.
Right.
I
So
think
or you can go ahead.
Yeah, so I think one way is to just be in touch with your feelings. If something happened and makes you feel bad, let the other person know, hey, that I didn't feel that good after this incident. Can
Mhm.
we talk about it? And usually it's not a big deal and it's done. And
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm reading this book right now. It's called Awaken the Giant by Anthony Robbins. And he kind of touches on how you identify those problems. So basically, his philosophy of life is that you look at life as either one of two things. And it's either, or any decision that you make is either to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. So you kind of have to look at it in a long term manner. So if you see this dragon is continuously growing, you know that you're avoiding pain because they didn't want to hurt the child, they didn't want to take that dragon away. But because they avoided the pain for so long, sorry about that.
go back like 3, 4 seconds. So
Um,
they avoided the pain.
they avoided the pain for so long that it kind of built up and it exploded at the end. They lost their house. Um, so if you look at life in those two fundamental ways, it's easy to identify what the problems are in your life and what the pleasures are in your life. And if by taking action, you're able to avoid pain at a much higher and successful rate than if you didn't look at it like that. What do you guys have to say about
I
that?
like that because it hurts to go like you. I guess the dragon in some people's lives, according to like my segment, is it hurts to go to the gym. It
Mhm.
it you physically hurt after you work out. It's hard to push yourself, but after the 3, 4 years that you've been working out, you feel much better about yourself. You look
Hmm.
better, and
It's because you didn't
you
avoid
are
the
a better
pain.
person.
Hmm. You have to kind of embrace pain to experience pleasure. I think that's a very uh, proper way to look at life.
And with our age cohort, we get a lot of instant gratification from social media. You know, you
Mm.
get that instant like, you get that like the follow, you get the message. Sometimes it's good to delay gratification because you'll be way more gratified. And I guess that's the same story as Anthony Robbins is telling.
Yeah,
Ryan, what else have
absolutely.
you got planned?
So next, I kind of wanted to talk about COVID-19 a bit and how that's affecting emotional well-being for many people now. Um, I'm sure many people are struggling. You know, we're in lockdowns, we're stuck inside, we can't see as many people. And I guess kind of from my own analysis and maybe my own experience too, I think one of the reasons why so many of us might be struggling during the pandemic is because we've kind of all been thrown off of our typical day-to-day schedules. You know, we get used to schedules and our bodies and mind adapt to that. Um, uh, and yeah, so basically, I think a good way to restructure ourselves again is to create a sort of COVID schedule. Make a new schedule for yourself. I know for myself that schedules are super rewarding. If I can write down a list of things to do during the day, and then I get to go to bed at night thinking that I've accomplished a lot during the day. That's a major contributor to my well-being. Also, being on a kind of schedule and a cycle, your body will adjust to it, and you'll see definitely more positive changes. But I think something that's really important with schedules is to make sure that you incorporate things that have meaning to you. So not just kind of chores and things that you need to get done, but also things that you want to do and find meaning, because that will, I think, help individuals uh, during these a bit lonelier times kind of enter a more positive mindset.
If I can comment, so the way I like to incorporate routine in my day with this like virtual environment of school and stuff is I wake up. First thing I do is I open my window, get the sun in my room, wakes me up a lot,
Mhm.
and then I like to take a shower. I shower. The water on my face just like wakes me up once again. Brush my teeth, drink my coffee. Coffee, it's like not everybody drinks coffee. I get it, but for me, it's not the coffee itself, but also the routine. The routine
Mhm.
of putting my beans in the grinder and then putting it in the French press, and all of that stuff is very therapeutic. You know, especially when I'm a zombie in the morning. You know, putting my coffee is like it's kind of fun, and that's the ways I've been incorporating routine, and especially is swimming in the gym. I've been taking up swimming in the gym, try to do once a day, and I look forward to it every day. It makes me happy, and I guess my day kind of revolves around this one event. Noah, how about you? You're muted.
My bad. For me, it's about setting a standard for myself and then believing in that standard. So it's kind of the same as a routine in a sense that there's things that I do every day. So, like, for example, Jonathan and I, we swim, I don't know, like 4 times a week sometimes. Um, and basically that's the standard I set. There's no other alternative for me in a sense. So with the routine and Jonathan, going to the French press and grinding his beans and all that, that's a standard for him. That's what he does, and that there's no other alternative. So if you can incorporate something as simple as um, um, making your coffee in the morning, you can also do it with the gym because the jump is not that much. It just becomes a part of your routine. It becomes
Mhm.
a part of your standard. And that's it. It's the same. You won't even think about doing it anymore. It's just something that you do.
Yeah, just like the article mentioned, is you have to choose to do stuff in your life. It doesn't just happen. Eating, yeah, everybody eats, but all the other stuff that goes on in your life, you have to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is a good point to end the first podcast. And as always, feel free to reach out to us on social media. One of us will reply to you. And thanks you for listening. See you guys again next time.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having me.